Okay, the question basically, how far can you get in your relationship with people of other faith communities that might lead you sometimes that you get too close, and also sometimes you might drink like them, which is forbidden in Islam. I think that would be a good concluding question because I understand you finish at 9. Because I'm going to say something controversial for some. And recently I made that statement in Australia, and just a couple of weeks ago in a conference in Kuwait. I mentioned that, and at the beginning, first, some people got a little uptight. Some even scholars were wondering. What I said is that some of the ideas that are commonly spread among some Muslims, that it is religious to hate, or at least not to love a person from other faith communities. And sometimes there is misunderstanding of some ayat in the Quran or concept. They say this is against wala and bara, to the point that some people would go as far as saying that hating a non-Muslim gets you closer to God. And I think there is a huge mix-up here between a number of things. Hating, if you love someone who's not a Muslim because of his rejection of Allah, then that's a more serious one. To love him because of his kufr. Like you say, somebody is worshipping idols and say, oh, I love you so much because you're worshipping idols. And you know that this is the exact opposite of what Islam teaches. You get my point? In that case, this is a very serious one. Secondly, as Ibn al-Qayyim actually said, you could love a person also, if you love a person because of his disobedience to Allah. So somebody is imbibing drinks day in and day out, bottle in and bottle out, barrel in and barrel out, and you say, I love you because of your drink. And you know it's haram in Islam. In that case, you're still a Muslim, but you're committing a major sin. Thirdly, if you love a person because of his minor sins, you committed a minor sin. If you love a person, however, as Ibn al-Qayyim said, if you love a person as a human being because he's your relative, or because you're someone who's did some favor to you, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. And now I give you evidence in the Quran and the word of the Prophet that it is not wrong to love a non-Muslim if you're loving for the good cause. Number one, in the Quran itself, I was quoting earlier, that a Muslim may marry, a Muslim male may marry a Christian or Jew. She's a Kafir, she's not a rejecter of Islam, right? What does that ayah say? Chapter 30, 21, to deal with her in kindness and love, more than love, mawaddah. If indeed it's haram to love, then you shouldn't get married. Because the Quran, you should love your wife without specifying whether that wife is a Muslimah or a woman from the people. Number two, is there anyone here who deny, especially Muslim, who have studied the history of Islam and the seerah, lifetime of the Prophet? Does anyone deny that Prophet Muhammad loved his uncle Abu Talib, who died as an idolatrous person, so dearly? Anyone who deny that? Absolutely none. Did he love his uncle because he's an idol worshipper? No. He loved him because he was a good man, he has good character, and he protected the Prophet. He rendered many favors to the Prophet, even though he died as an idolater. Evidence from the Quran, in the context of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, being so sympathetic to his uncle. He was telling him, even on his deathbed, when his uncle was dying, he said, just utter the testimony of faith that there is no God except the one God, and Muhammad is his messenger. So that at least maybe God will save you by that. But he said, I am afraid if I say that, the Arabs may think that because I'm dying, I got so terrified. And he died like that. In the context of that story, you know what the Quran says about Abu Talib? إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ to treat those who are peacefully coexisting with birr, which include love as well. So it is a myth that some people mix these various forms of love and say that is disbelief to love a person. You can love a person for their qualities, for goodness, because they give you, because they're relatives. There's no harm at all in that, so long as your faith is firm. But of course, the question of being under pressure to do wrong, major sin like drinking and all of that, then one can restrain himself. And by the way, not everybody who's not a Muslim drinks. There are people who drink something other than Bloody Mary.
Just probably think was one more question which is related to the topic.
Okay.
Is there
The final.
Final. That there is a common myth that the current situation of Muslims is due to their wrong preachings. Is this reason why Muslims are suffering now?
There are cases, of course, where there is wrong preaching. But again, we should avoid stereotyping. There are lots of scholars all over the Muslim world who are carrying the message of just balance. I don't want to use the moderation because the term moderation has assumed some political meaning. This just balance, authentic teaching of Islam. But these are not the media that the CNN is interested in reporting. There's always the sensational, the few who purport to speak for Islam. And these are either totally misled people with good intention, or people with agenda, or hired pen among some Muslim secularists or Muslims. So I know it might sound contradictory to say atheist Muslim, but people coming from Muslim background, having Muslim names, and they can use them actually to attack Islam, so that they say even Muslims themselves are not convinced. So, but you're really leaving in between a whole variety of scholars who carry that message. Of course, yeah, there are people who have wrong teaching, and maybe the function tonight is contributing just a half a cent, maybe worth in trying to correct this. But spread the word, and there will be more correction.
Yeah, we'll probably stop here. We'll thank Dr. Jamal Badawi. And please join me to thank him and appreciate